measures and different things that have changed in the, let's say, life of all citizens. And also that it is not easy, of course. And you, Lydia, you were mentioning you moved, and your family came back as well from trips. You are currently working as well from your home. And the thing here is, what other challenges can you see from all this experience?
Uh, well, I think we can discuss this issue from two points of view. First, personal, and on the level of uh, people trying to cope with the whole, I would say, stressful situation in the world. And second, what is going on in economy and international economic relations. Um, I think that many people are in denial and they can't realize the real situation worldwide and what is the danger, in, which is because of the pandemic. And that is why we see some kind of careless attitude towards the instructions given by the governments, by the World Health Organization, and that is what is fueling the um growth rates of new number of new cases. And second, some people are instead of panic and they buy this sounds much more living inside the house. We have here in Russia both types. Some people just are ignoring what is happening, trying to live their usual lifestyle, and even going to offices, ignoring the recommendations to work remotely. Uh, that is, I think also it is a problem that people sometimes fear being alone or being locked in their houses. They don't know how to spend this time. And here, some kind of online courses, a lot of online services which provided free access to their knowledge base and educational products are perfect opportunities to spend this time for self-education, and which is very important because if we see some kind of look at some kind of economic forecasts, there will be a huge and drastic recession and depression rises in the economy, and staff reductions will be in some industries more heavily, in some it will be better. But if we look at what is going on already in the service industries, waiters, cooks, hairdressers, and etc., all those who are in service are already experiencing the negative effects of the epidemic. And people who are working in different other industries, like advertisement, budgets are frozen. Big companies stop all their marketing activities, review their budgets, and a lot of middle-sized agencies already have to close down or to frozen all the projects. And that is why people have to learn new skills very quickly. First, to be in demand by employers, and second, to be able to change quickly their profession or their occupation. That is why it is very important to keep your lifelong learning and becoming more and more professional to stay competitive, yes, to be able to cope with this. And what is going on in general, actually, I personally have kind of pessimistic view. I think that this pandemic will be with us, I think, for 3-4 months with us at least, because of different speed of outbreaks in different countries, and when we recover the all international travels, so we can see some kind of new outbreaks, and the economic damage will be huge.
Yeah, and also that is another issue, not just on the health ground and social, the social level of that it can affect to everyone around the world, but also the economy, and talking about the nations that are involved, which is all the world. And here our case, maybe it is very different from Mexico and from Latin American countries, which are taking measures that are, some of them are on the same level and on the same way and time as in Europe or Asia and other countries. But if we see that now the next focus of coronavirus, it's here in North America, in the United States, and our country, for example, hasn't closed the borders yet. So just for me and for us, everyone who is listening now, to remember, when did you remember it was like the moment that Russia closed their borders, and how do you experience this situation on the border closing?
Yeah, the borders were closed on March 18, like the last week. It is closed for foreigners. Russian citizens can come back from all over the world, and hundreds of Russian tourists are in different countries trying to get back home, and diplomatic missions are engaged in helping them, because many air flights, of course, have been cancelled. So yes, and foreigners can't enter the country for now. Me personally, I don't. Well, I entered the country before the closing of the borders, and but I know that there are some kind of problems experiencing migrants who were trying to leave Russian Federation, and they are stuck in the transition areas of our international airports, because the flights have been cancelled. They already crossed the border and being in transition zones, and some kind of NGOs and their diplomatic missions are helping them, supporting, and I think that some kind of charter air flights will be organized for them.
Yeah, exactly. And because just in order to have some background, we were colleagues, and we've met some years ago in MGIMO, in the Institute of Russian Relations in Moscow. And for us, that I will consider, of course, myself and you, maybe as a foreign student, we were, and for myself, I was living in the Abstijit, in the dormitory. And as far as I know, everyone were like kicked out, sorry, from the dormitory of students.
Yes, because of the danger of outbreak in the dorm. Two students have been to Italy and came back to Russia and attended university. Didn't go quarantine, which were they supposed to be. There was a danger of outbreaks in dormitories, and the university has decided to send everybody back home, and students. Firstly, they were told that that's for a couple of weeks, but then as the situation has been emerging, now it is we understand that that's 4 months. So yes, actually students are supposed to come back. There is, of course, there are students with different living conditions and financial conditions, and they had to address the university administration to get some kind of help, or to be able to stay at the dormitory for a bit longer. As I know, some of the students have received the financial support to buy tickets home, and some of them are staying in the dormitory in Moscow.
And for example, did you maybe heard of any other case close to you, not just on the face of coronavirus, maybe, but also people who has friends or family?
Actually, personally, in my circle of close friends or familiar people, there are no cases as far as I know. And actually, a situation in Russia for now is a bit better than in European countries or the US. The numbers are relatively low. We, as for yesterday, March 25, we had 840 cases registered. The rate of growth of new cases, of course, is accelerating, unfortunately. But I don't have any cases in my close circle.
I see. I see. Well, this is at least something in terms of good news. And let me go to the other part of the also economic situation, because a lot of local places, and you know, it will be the most challenging moment for the small enterprises, businesses, etc. What can you see over there where you are regarding in relation with the small businesses?
Well, of course, the situation is, I would say, tragic, because Moscow is very comfortable, and there is a huge number of small startups, local businesses, small and medium enterprises producing handmade jewelry, designers, clothes, some kind of local restaurants and cafes and coffee shops. And of course, they all are already under the heat of the economic reduction. They have drastic drop in incomes and in public demand. And unfortunately, many of these businesses will close down in 2 or 3 weeks already. I read the forecast on the restaurant industry, and really a large number of restaurants will be closed in 2 or 3 weeks. Even they are allowed to deliver foods. The demand doesn't go in any comparison in their usually day-on-day demand when the restaurants are open. And we have a number of good initiatives launched on Facebook by entrepreneurs, which urge people to buy from their local businesses to support them. And I highly support these initiatives, but I'm afraid that this won't be enough.
Oh well, yes, of course. Most of the measures, and it is not enough just to keep on a talk, and maybe uh, some actions that it can implement new ways of on formats of economy growing, economy flow. So here in Mexico will be as well, and it is starting to be a challenge, and we will love to, of course, have a discussion on this regard, maybe for the coming future, and receiving, well, of course, ideas, strategies, analysis on how are we gonna do this. By now, some of the banks, for example, national banks, and itself the government is taking into consideration of postponing the payments of each citizen. And I think it's also one thing you just mentioned, and that it happened in Russia, and we can see it in other countries. But as you said, maybe it will not be enough. My dear Lydia, just for having a perception for the coming future, how long you think it's gonna we will keep on this phase?
I think that in some countries the epidemic will just be peaking in the future. So I think that this state of emergency will keep in for 2 3 months, but the economic effects, I think that the worst we will face in 5 6 months when the economics will out of money, out of resources, and then we will hit some kind of waves of recessions in different countries, and people losing their monies and their jobs. I think that the this year won't be an easy one, and duration of the recession is, for example, after the economic crisis 2008, the covered
Yes.
in 4 years to the before crisis level, and I don't see why this crisis could recover faster.
Yeah, that is true, and we have a case, an example of 2008, and we'll see, of course, what are the reactions of the economies, not just the analysis for the future, that some of them are pessimistic, some of them are realistic, and some others a little bit more optimistic and positive. But just for getting into the last chapter of this conversation, this morning, or I mean, maybe it was last morning, and there was a streaming also like this, but of the leaders of the G20, and some of the leaders, presidents around the world, they were having a discussion on this subject, how they are going to cooperate itself. And I think now one of the most important things is to keep on communication, but to strengthen the international cooperation.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the only way the world can really recover faster from all the happening. We haven't seen an epidemic like this in almost 100 of years. I mean, concerning the amount of people affected and infected. And I think that we haven't seen uh, ever some kind of close borders of all countries and stop in aviation worldwide. So that is something we're coping for as a humanity, coping for the first time, and of course, cooperation and mutual support is very important.
For sure, and you speaking by yourself and from the ground that as we were like presenting at the beginning, you're the co-founder of an organization, a union of Jewish community in Russia, and of course it is talking about from the perspective of also of the youth around the world. What can we do now from where we are, from like behind the screens, with our like capabilities and adaptation of being isolated, being in quarantine, etc. What is the role and the responsibility of us, the youth people, and from you as a co-founder of this union?
Mhm. Well, the best thing you can do is to stay at home. People stay at home, don't leave your house, and of course they take care of the elderly people, your grandfathers and grandparents. If you have masks, wear masks when leaving the house to take some groceries to shop. Of course, wash your hands. I won't repeat after the World Health Organization, but I think that the most important what a young person can do is to urge your friends, your familiar people, to stay at home and do not be careless, because some of my friends, for example, are still going out, and making celebrations. And the best you can do is to inform people on what is going on, and um, to to cry, to shout out about staying at home. Um, what else? You can buy from your local business, and that would be a real support for them. And also to support those who are who feel lonely in self-isolation. Some people can't bear this, and you can call your friends or call some lonely people just to keep communication with them. You have lots of services for video conferences. You can organize some kind of online lecture or workshops. The most important is to try to continue your ordinary lifestyle, and to put those social connections you have, because some people are feeling alone, maybe don't know how to cope with this.
Yeah, that is true, and some of us that we are trying to maybe have some activity, right, some action from yeah.
At some hospitals, I think that that is somewhere where the outbreak is not as strong as in Italy or Spain, but you can be a volunteer for hospitals, making some administrative, for example. But that's that is not absolutely safe. But as we know, young people are more strong, and they danger is a bit lower than for other groups of the society, but still it is dangerous. It is dangerous.
Yeah, of course, but yeah, it is mentioned that maybe some of us, the youth, if we are able and if we are capable to do this kind of activities, and yeah, implement some issues that will help the others, if we can, well, then do it. That is the message, my dear Lydia. If there is anything you will like to send as a message, as a general idea to everyone you just mentioned, yes, stay home, stay safe. um, well, of course, from the ground of being in Moscow and us in Mexico, well, we will hope to keep on the cooperation by these ways as much as possible, and hopefully this will come out with more ideas regarding, as we were mentioning, international cooperation, economy, and yeah, other issues, other topics.
Yeah, I think this kind of initiatives which you have great, because one of the most important things is to keep. So thank you for having me. Um, I hope this conversation with people from different parts of the world will continue. And yes, changing some ideas can be very useful and important.
Yeah, that is the thing. Thank you, my dear Lydia, for having taken the call, and for all the time. And for everyone, well, we had since the beginning, we were presenting our guest. So it's Lydia Gangan, educational enthusiast and the co-founder of the Russian Union of Jewish Students, from there, from Moscow. Thank you so much again, Lydia. Will we keep stay home? It's done.